What is up, awesome people, and welcome to another Pokemon Sun and Moon theory / speculation / discussion podcast. Since people enjoyed the speculation and analysis video that I did on Pokemon Sun and Moon's teaser trailer, I've been getting requests actually to do another theory video in regards to a few topics for Pokemon Sun and Moon. So I've jumped on board. I've said, yeah, I'll take a look into some things. And this is basically what my current research has jumped into. So the little disclaimer as always, don't walk away with this saying that this is factual or anything. Take it with a grain of salt. All of these are purely just based on speculations and theories of my own. And at the same time, as I said, there's quite a lot of theories floating around on the internet. So yeah, hopefully this one is going to be unique and will make you think, oh, maybe that could happen, maybe not. And as always, leave your theories and thoughts down in the comment section below. Alright, so I want to start off with location of the next game. And again, this is probably going to be a humongous stretch. I mean, given the location, and it's going to be very close to another location that has been previously featured in the Pokemon games, and that is going to be somewhere in South America. And you're thinking, wow, that is very close. Black and White was featured over in North America, down towards New York, so why South America? Well, the funny thing is, actually, that I originally thought it was going to be like Easter Island or something because of the Strange Souvenir, which is kind of like where I started with these theories. I kind of looked at Strange Souvenir. For those who do remember from X and Y, there was a traveler in one of the hotels. He traveled between 4 hotels, I do believe, and he gave you an item called Strange Souvenir. And it kind of gave off a bit of a, you know, like a very Aztec-y feeling, or I think it was like Moe or something feeling, which I've seen a little bit in real life. Like I've had a few people travel to Easter Island, which actually isn't too far away from Australia. So it would have been really cool to have it featured there. I mean, just not too far from Australia, but unfortunately I came to a lot of dead ends. So Easter Island kind of got knocked off. So I moved up a little bit, and it turns out there's a little bit of Aztec heritage there in South America, but it's a little bit more just at the very southern areas of North America, that there's a huge Aztec heritage there, which is, as I said, I kind of got that Aztec-y feeling from the Strange Souvenir. And it kind of led me to finding out about this, and that is called the Amazon Stonehenge, which actually relates to the winter solstice. And that's actually kind of huge because the solstice actually does relate to the sun and moon. We have the solstice, I think it's like every June and December, and we have the equinox as well, which is March and September. So for those who don't know what the solstice is, it's an astronomical event that occurs twice each year in June and December, and it's when the sun reaches its highest or lowest excursion relative to the celestial equator and the celestial sphere. Both the solstice and the equinoxes are directly connected with the seasons of the year, and yeah, I just read that off Wikipedia. So that's already like a huge thing. It will relate to Pokemon Sun and Moon, and I think at the end of these, it actually does form an eclipse. So it's kind of like where the sun and the moon merge, and you get like the black sun or moon in the sky. As I said, it only happens twice every year, and the equinox this year is going to fall on the 20th of March, which is actually not too far away now. I'm recording this on the 3rd, so it's 17 days away, and the solstice will happen on the 20th of June, and then again the equinox over in September will happen on the 22nd, and the solstice in December will happen on the 21st. So that's pretty interesting right there, and I don't think I wrote down anything else in regards to the solstice. I just thought, since the Amazon Stonehenge had a huge relevance to the solstice and the equinox, I thought that was a good enough place to start. And this actually has, I think they found out, like some scientists went over there and they did some research and found out that this has some type of astronomical observations. They believe the site was made by a sophisticated indigenous culture. One of the stones has a circular hole carved into it, and during the winter solstice, the sun shines directly through this hole onto another rock for an extended amount of time, supporting the idea that Amazon Stonehenge was used as an astronomical site. And at the same time, on the winter solstice on the 21st of December, which is the shortest day of the year in the northern hemisphere, the shadow of one of the blocks disappears when the sun is directly above it. The rock seems to be placed at an angle, so the shadow is possibly small throughout the day. And it's the block's alignment with the December solstice that leads... sorry, I don't need to read that bit. Sorry, I've got like all these notes everywhere. It's like so messy. I actually thought I was going to drown in these notes. There's so many of them. And another thing that was very interesting with the Amazon Stonehenge was that they found bowls, lids, urns that were created in the shapes of animals and human-like figures. Now, it's a shame I actually couldn't find any pictures of these, because I actually went over to look at these. And I thought, since they do shape them like animals and human-like figurines, I thought that could be what the strange souvenir was. And it's another thing as well I forgot to mention, I just thought of it then. The text description for the strange souvenir was, it's in the shape of a protector, I think it was, or guardian. So that's another thing to point away from that is the strange souvenir. Like, I think even in Aztec culture, I think even in a few other cultures as well, don't quote me on that one, they do make souvenirs or statues in the shapes of gods or deities in a way. So maybe the strange souvenir could be hinting towards a particular deity or some sorts from this particular region, because he did say he was from a region that we've not been introduced to yet. So there's a good chance that this region will be away from Kalos region, which was based in France. Alright, so let's move away from the Amazon Stonehenge, because I think we've covered all that I can cover on that. As I said, I could have gone into more detail into this. The other thing I've got to really mention is that the Amazon Stonehenge is something similar to the Stonehenge, I think, over in Europe. So if you're familiar with Stonehenge as well, it's pretty much the same thing as that, I think. As I said, I could have done a lot more research, but I've only done briefly, so I could keep this video somewhat on the shortest end. I mean, if I had my chance, I could talk for 2 hours on this. Alright, so they're out the way. So let's move on to another thing that brought me to thinking it was going to be South America. And that is the bird that they showed in the teaser trailer. So people have been up in arms and debating what type of bird that Pokemon was based on. I mean, in the past we've had Pidove, which was based on the stone pigeon, which is very common in New York. Now, I haven't actually done any research in regards to Pidgey. I don't really know who the regional bird was in 2nd gen, which is very sad. I don't think 2nd gen had a regional bird. I could be incorrect there. But 3rd gen had Talo, 4th gen had Starly, and as I said, 5th gen had Pidove, 6th gen had Fletching. And so, as I said, I didn't do any major research into those ones, but I do know for a fact that Pidove was based on the stone pigeon, which is common in New York. So I kind of went from that and went by the rules that I needed a bird that was native to that area, and I came across a red-crested cardinal. So this Pokemon looked, this bird looked pretty similar to the Pokemon that they had showed very briefly in the teaser trailer. So this bird is actually native to northern Argentina, Bolivia, and I'm going to do another disclaimer now. If I say something wrong, please excuse me, because I have not had a chance to actually sit down and learn some of these words. It's also native to southern Brazil, Paraguay, and Uruguay? Jesus, no wonder I sucked at geography. I can't even say these places. Anyways, its natural habitats are subtropical or tropical dry shrubland and heavily degraded form of forest. Now, there was like a concept art that showed somewhat of a tropical beach of some sort. And another thing to take away there is just keep in mind that that picture of whatever it was is only concept art, so that could change in the final depiction of the game. But I just thought, since it did look pretty tropical, then this Pokemon, or this bird actually kind of does fit the description, and the fact that it is also found in South America as well. I've already brought up Brazil, and Argentina is in South America as well, yada yada. The other things to mention as well, other regions it's found in the southern part of Pantanola. And there's another theory floating around that a location for the upcoming Pokemon Sun and Moon is Hawaii. Now, I think someone used this as an argument in that theory. However, the red-crested cardinal is only introduced to Hawaii and Puerto Rico. It is not actually native to Hawaii at all. It's actually introduced. So it may not actually classify as a regional bird for that matter, since it is native to South America. Right, and at the same time as well, it does have a variant as well. It's also the yellow-billed cardinal, which people do easily confuse with the red-crested cardinal. So if that Pokemon was to have a shiny version, it would most likely be based on the yellow-billed cardinal. And with that, that's pretty much all I could really talk about this particular Pokemon. Now, there was... I don't really know what you call it, because I didn't really hear about it. It was like something floating around about a leak in regards to a Pokemon Rainbow version. I must have been sleeping under a rock that day or something, because I never heard about it, and it was only about when I was doing some research that I stumbled across it. Now, I have no idea what this could be actually referring to. There is multiple things this could be referring to. One of the things I did find in South America was something called a rainbow boa, which is a snake, and it has this really cool sheen to its skin where it looks like a rainbow. Now, it's quite possible that Game Freak could possibly take some type of Pokemon and base it on this particular snake due to its rainbow sheen. It would be really cool. I mean, the other thing I could think of was the rainbow serpent from the Aboriginal Dreamtime stories here in Australia, but hey, that's about all we've got running for us is the Dreamtime story, so I highly doubt Game Freak will take Australia as a region anytime soon. Yay for us being so boring. Yes, we Aussies are quite boring. Other than that, there was one other thing I found, and I am not even going to attempt to say this name. It's like Itchel or something. Itchel Ixel. It's from the Maya culture, and it's an aged jaguar goddess of midwifery and medicine, is what it relates to. And it's kind of also relates to Aztec as well, going back to my whole Aztec theory, which I'm pretty sure Game Freak may actually take some influence from, since there's so much Aztec influence. It is unbelievable. So in Aztec, Earth goddess inhabiting the sweet bath and is related to another Aztec goddess invoked at birth. Yada yada yada. There is like so much more I could go on here. And the other thing though, the reason why I bring her up is because in one culture, her name actually may refer to rainbow. And she's also depicted as an entwined serpent as well. Crossed bones may adorn her skirt. Instead of human hands and feet, she sometimes has claws. So it's more dragon-like. And we've seen so many dragon-type legendaries, it's not funny. So I mean, without a doubt, if they are going to do something rainbow-related, it will most likely be a dragon. Let's face it, it will be a dragon-type legendary. Although they could pull an unexpected and make it not dragon-type, which would be really cool, but given that they do depict this particular goddess or deity of some sort, I think they just refer to her as a goddess. Since she is depicted as a serpent with claws and bones, there was a good chance that she may end up being a Pokemon influence of some sort. And at the same time as well, in the Mayan mythology, she is a moon... In the past, Ixchel was sometimes assumed to be identical to the classic Mayan moon goddess because of the moon's association with fertility and procreation. At the same time, the theme of maid, mother, and grandmother, triad being equated with the three basic phases of moon, seems to be quite common amongst cultures around the world. So that's something else as well, that the fact she has some relevance in some cultures in regards to the moon's phases. Here it's just like quarter moon, half moon, three-quarter moon, full moon. I know we're so boring. Far out. People are going to walk away thinking Australia is so boring. So yeah, as I mentioned there, that there is moon bases based on this particular goddess as well. So she's both Mayan and Aztec influence. So she could possibly pop up somewhere. Right, so I think I've covered rainbow. So, what to cover now? I'm just going through all my notes. As I said, this is so messy. There is one other thing I do want to bring up, and I don't know why I don't have notes on it, is going back to how about the Amazon Stonehenge was something used as like sacrificial. I don't think I mentioned it, but I should have. The Amazon Stonehenge was believed to have been some type of sacrificial grounds as well, and there was a little hint dropped that the next Pokemon game would be based around flowers, which brought everyone going, oh, it could be this, it could be the Netherlands, it could be something else, yada yada yada. One thing I did find when I was researching Aztec was something called a flower war. Now, it's called a flower war because it's nothing to do with flowers. I couldn't find a reason why it's called the flower war, but I thought it was interesting because this is a whole sacrificial war where two armies went and their soldiers believed that this was the way to die nobly. So they go in, and if they die, they will sacrifice to the Aztec gods. Now, there are Aztec gods in regards to the moon and sun, and my god, it took me ages to find out who they were. I could find the sun gods because Aztec has had like freaking 5 or 6 of them, and the moon god was actually the hardest one to find, but there has been a moon god for the Aztec, and it didn't actually say what particular gods they were sacrificing themselves for, so it could have been for a whole variety of Aztec gods, but if they were doing something relating to the moon and sun, like something similar to that of Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, or even that of Pokemon X and Y, where they were doing stuff and using the power of Pokemon, it could be something similar to that, where they'll might be sacrificing Pokemon to appease the moon or sun god, to give it more power or something, or to prevent the eclipse or something along those lines. Like, it could be a potential plot point in the game, like to use some type of sacrificial thing for the Pokemon legendaries, depending on what they are and what's happening with the villains of the game. So that's pretty interesting. Like, it may, when they say flower, I just thought metaphorically they could be talking about or referring to the Aztec flower war. But other than that, I've actually found nothing to do with physical flowers. But I think I might have stumbled across something, but I am buggered if I can find that article again. It was something in regards to the Aztec Garden of Pleasure, and there was actually a flower shown there that looked very similar to AZ's Flotet. But as I said, I have not been able to find that article again, so I've kind of just left it. So if I find it again, I might do a theory number 2 or something. But so far, that's all I've really got on flowers and the flower war. And as I said, I'm sorry I can't go into any more details about that, but I don't have the notes on that on me at the moment, which really sucks. So the other thing I was thinking about as well was how we've got brought up about Zygarde. Now, this is quite interesting because I only just found this out before doing this video. I was thinking, Evantal and Xerneas could be based on something to do with French mythology or something, but turns out the 3 legendaries from X and Y, Zygarde, Xerneas and Evantal, are all actually based on Norse mythology, which is nothing to do with France at all, which is like, whoa, that's really interesting. It's actually got something to do with more northern European people. But yeah, it's really cool because it goes on to a particular text as well. It's the Poetica of... I'll bring it up in a second. It's like Poetica Etica or something like that. So Prose Etica. I know it was something to do with literature. So yeah, it's got something to do with that. Zygarde itself is actually based on... it's based on so many things because Zygarde Final is actually based somewhere similar to Loki, the Norse mythology god or something like that. And it's got an awful lot to do with the War of Ragnarok, which is featured in the Prose Etica. I could go on, as I said, to explain all this would probably take me an hour just alone, because there's so much behind the Norse mythology that I think I got a headache after all. I had to go to bed because it drained me so much. So I was thinking, just to summarize it all, I was thinking, if they're going to do something with Zygarde and tie it in with 6th generation, they could make the legendaries based on Norse mythology. And that is done pretty easily because in Norse mythology, we do have Sol, which is the sun goddess, and we have Mano, who is the moon god. And there's also Joro, who is the earth goddess. And unfortunately, Joro has nothing to do with Zygarde, so that kind of brought my whole theory to rock bottom. So, another thing as well that I could have gone with a stretch was that the red and blue on Zygarde final form's arms, even though people do think it relates to Xerneas and Yveltal, which is probably correct, I was also thinking as a bit of a stretch here as well. It is quite funny though that Pokemon Sun and Moon's logos are both red and blue, so who knows, the red and blue on final Zygarde's arms could actually relate to the legendaries from Pokemon Moon and Sun. So, as I said, it's a bit of a stretch, but Zygarde could go up against the two legendaries from Pokemon Moon and Sun in some ways. Who knows? But as I said, it was kind of a fall flat on its face theory, so I thought I'd just bring that up as a statement. It wasn't supposed to go anywhere. Right. So, moving back to the whole Amazon thing. So I ended up looking into this because the whole Aztec thing was kind of like drawing more towards North America, as I mentioned. So I tried to find things that was South America related. And I came across the god and goddess, I do believe, of the Amazon mythology, and that's Kuat and Ai. Kuat is the sun god, and Ai is a moon god. Basically, according to legend, at the beginning of time, there were so many birds in the sky that their wings prevented the daylight from being seen. It was also night, and people were forced to live in fear of attack from wild animals. Tired of darkness, two Moravian heroes, Ea and his brother Kayak, decided to force the king of the birds, Ubutsun, to give back some of the daylight. The two brothers hid themselves inside a dead animal and waited until the birds approached. As soon as landed, Kurak grabbed Ubutsun's leg. Unable to get away, Ubutsun was forced to make an agreement with the two brothers. The birds would share daylight with the the tribe members, and day would alternate with night. Kurak represented the sun and Ea represented the moon. So that's basically the Amazon mythology that I could find in regards to moon and sun. So they could go on that, which is pretty interesting, so it does relate to the birds flapping and giving away the sun. So maybe that could relate to Yveltal in a way, since Yveltal kind of does remind me of the night in some way, since it is a dark type. So, moving on to my next point, was also in South America, there is also a little region called the French Guiana. Now, this is more leaning towards a multi-region theory that this particular region could in fact be linked with Kalos, kind of similar to how we had Kanto and Johto linked. Now, this is kind of going by the theory that I do believe there is a town. I haven't played X and Y in ages now, so this is going to be a bit blurry. There is actually a particular seaside town that had boats everywhere, so you could quite possibly jump on a boat there and sail it over to what could be the Pokemon equivalent of this place, and that's the French Guiana. Now, originally this was inhabited by Native Americans, however it was colonized by Frenchmen and other Europeans. And this kind of led to a bit of a dark bit of history, unfortunately, so I don't know if Game Freak will include this, but in real life equivalents, though, it was, this place kind of was related to like African slaves and later Asian laborers, and I think it was like Hmong refugees from Laos, so it does have a pretty dark history there. So I'm not too sure, as I said, I'm not too sure if Game Freak will include it, but given that it is actually a French region within South America, as I said, they could use it as a Pokemon equivalent of traveling from Kalos to this particular region. That's pretty much all I have to say pretty much on that, but as I said, that was kind of working towards how I could relate Kalos and this region together. And that's pretty much that. Yay! The only other thing I could bring up, and I'm coming to like the end now because I'm running out of stuff, just going back to the whole Aztec and their many sun gods. So as I said, I think they have like five sun gods at the moment, and then they had a moon god created in the process. So it's hard to explain this because again, this kind of went so many things to research. But basically saying like the current sun that we have at the moment in the world is the fifth sun, which is the earthquake sun. And we have like the god here, and then it was like the sun was too bright because it had too much power, so the gods threw a rabbit in the face of the sun god to dim the light, and he became a moon. So that's just to summarize it without blowing anyone's mind. So yeah, it could be pretty interesting. Something could be based on that, like a rabbit legendary. God, the grief, that actually sounded ridiculous when it came out of my mouth. But we have that, and I'm gonna leave it there because, as I said, like researching into this, it just was really, really painstaking to read, and I just couldn't keep it all in my head. So, finally, I'm just going to leave it off here, is going through possibilities of mega evolutions, since someone did ask me to cover it, and I'm going to give them a shout out because they did bring up a really interesting point, and it is something that Game Freak has done quite a lot, and this was from Michael98180, who recently commented on one of my videos and said this: I know this question is not about the video, but do you think Lunatone and Solrock will get megaforms in Sun and Moon based on the Shinto sun goddess Amaterasu, Omikami's sister and wife of the moon god Tetsukunomi, or good grief. Yeah, you know how good I am at pronouncing stuff. Or will be legends based on the mentioned Shinto god and goddess? Well, I can answer that last one. There's a good chance that it will not be based on the Shinto gods or goddess, since 4th Gen's legendaries Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina are actually based on the Shinto gods and goddesses. Dialga and Palkia, I think Giratina as well, they're actually based on Izanami and Izanagi, who, if you watch Naruto, will be familiar with those terms as well, who erected the pillar, and that gave birth to all that. But the funny thing is, though, that you mentioned that they actually had... I'm trying to think. I think they were like daughter or son, which is Amaterasu and as I said, I'm gonna have trouble pronouncing this. Tetsukunami. Tetsukunami is the moon god, and Amaterasu is the sun god. As I'd mentioned in the comment to you. It's a good chance that they will relate the Mega Evolution some way to a sun or moon mythology. The problem is, though, when we bring up the legendaries, there are so many sun and moon deities just all over the world that it's hard to really say what the legendaries will be based on. I already brought up 2 in this video, but there are so many more. Like there is Greek, but the chances of Greek coming up again would be very slim, since Cresselia is actually referencing a Greek goddess of the moon, which is Selene, which is where Cresselia's name origin comes from. It's based on Crescent, which is a lunar phase, and Selene, who I mentioned already, was the Greek goddess of the moon. So it'd be very unlikely that we would get a Greek god, just purely based on Cresselia. If we do, it means there's another moon god that I'm not aware of. But yeah, I'd like to see Solrock and Lunatone get a mega evolution, and I really don't, but I reckon Cresselia might get one as well. And I'd like to also see Clefable get a mega evolution as well there, since it is somewhat related to the moon. I can't think of any other sun Pokemon at the moment that's going to cross my mind as getting mega evolutions. Before I do wrap up this video, I'm actually at the end now, which is... Far out, this video has gone for a long time. The other thing I wanted to bring up just before I end this video, this is going back to the Aztec stuff, but the Aztecs do have something called the Aztec calendar, which is a sun calendar and a moon calendar. Now, on these particular calendars, they do relate to actual animals, somewhat similar to how we have horoscope references in Unova. So on the Aztec calendar, they have like crocodile, jaguar, deer, flower, reed, death, rain, grass, snake, flint, monkey, lizard, quake, dog, vulture, eagle, rabbit, house, water, and wind are all the references on the Aztec calendar. Far out, there's a lot of them there, so it could be quite possible that we get some Pokemon based on the Aztec calendar, which would be really cool since it does relate to the sun and moon. And there's one other thing I just found in my notes before I do wrap up, and that is another Mayan. It may not be Mayan. No, sorry, it is a Mayan mythology. And again, this relates to sun and moon. It's two hero twins, and the myth is basically these two heroes. They got Hanapu and Blanky. I think that's how you pronounce the hero's name. Basically, I think it was their father or their uncle were well-known ball players, and they were summoned to the underworld where their father and uncle was defeated and sacrificed. It doesn't say who they're sacrificed to. I think they're sacrificed to the underworld. And the two sons were conceived, however, by the seed of their dead father and their pregnant mother. The sons, or the twins, grew up to avenge their father, and after many trials, finally defeated the lords of the underworld in the ball game. And I think it's something to do with like a particular ball game played in that culture. And the goes on about a pretentious bird demon that they've got to destroy as well, and someone else's two demonic sons. After that, the twins also turned their half-brothers into howler monkey gods, who were the patrons of artists and scribes, and the twins were finally transformed into sun and moon, signaling the beginning of a new age. So after all those trials, they became the moon and the sun. And there's also, as I said, reference to an evil bird, which could be a particular Pokemon as well. It could be the villain's main Pokemon that we see, since we've had villains have signature Pokemon. And there's also howler monkey gods as well, which is pretty interesting. And I'm finally at the end of all my notes. My God, that was a long video. I need a drink of water after this. So hopefully that wasn't a huge mess, and people took something away from that, or have something to add to that. It'd be really cool. As I said, leave all your thoughts and theories down in the comment section below. Any Mega Pokemon you'd like to see. I know a lot of people are going to say Mega Flygon. I think that has been officially confirmed, since I did give a reason why Mega Flygon hasn't been a thing yet. Mega Milotic will probably be a thing as well, since it is a bit of a cult following behind it. Oh, and speaking of cult following, something just popped in my head then. There was actually I think you call it a tribe. I can't remember the tribe, because as I said, it was one of those articles that disappeared after a blue screen of death that happened on my computer. There was a tribe somewhere in South America that believed that humans or human spirits could morph with animals. Now, when I read that, I seriously wish I bookmarked the site, because the only thing I could think of there was the Ash Greninja. And I joked with someone about, I think I've joked with Pimp Knight about this. 7th gen mechanic being trainers being able to morph with Pokemon. And after reading that, I'm like, oh my goodness, Pokemon morphism could actually be a thing as a mechanic. So, as I said, I kind of wish I bookmarked that article, because I would have loved to have done some research into it. But as I said, I got nothing, so that's all I can say. But there was a tribe that believed in human spirits morphing with animals. And that is it, folks. I am officially done with this video. I can't talk for any much longer. I've talked for, far out. I've talked for 33 minutes. Well, I'm done, people. Hope you guys enjoyed the video and enjoyed me rambling for 33 minutes. So until the next theory video or the next video of mine, this is Lady KrimZen saying ciao for now, but not forever. Ciao.